over that shit, Dan. Come on.
Hi, everybody.
Did they hear my bad word?
Oh, that was funny. Whatever. That's all good. Welcome, everybody, to the Unready room.
Sorry.
Oh, man. I love it. I love it so much. Welcome, everybody, to the Unready room. Unready, as always.
Jerk.
I wasn't expecting. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're here on this lower decks day actually to talk about Star Trek Discovery. But seriously, when we're done here, go watch Lower Decks. Get those numbers up.
Yes.
Yay.
Do the thing. I'm gonna have it going on my phone all day,
Nice.
no matter what I'm doing. So
yeah, excellent. Well, yeah. So we'll take an hour out of that day though to talk about Star Trek Discovery and the penultimate episode, not just of the season.
ever.
But of the series. No more Star Trek Discovery after next week, and it makes me so sad. But we're going to maintain a stiff upper lip. We're going to soldier through.
What the hell does that mean, stiff upper lip?
I don't know.
It's a very British saying.
It's a very British saying. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to soldier through and be strong.
Nope. And this girl isn't. No, there will be no being strong.
Showing emotion is not a lack of strength. So
okay, there.
Tut tut. To use another Britishism, I guess.
Yes, sir.
But we are going to be talking about Lagrange Point, the penultimate, I just like that word, episode of Star Trek Discovery. With me, of course, is Brandi Jackola. Brandi, how's it going?
It's fine for the most part. It is very imminent at how little discovery we have left coming to us, and it's hard.
Especially with this last season, and back on my soapbox here, this last season being 10 episodes just feels artificially short too, after the slightly longer seasons we've gotten in the past. So it's annoying that their final season has to go out on this short note, and then a bunch of other stuff that's going on this season that still bugs me, that if they'd known it was the last season, I feel like different decisions would have been made. Agreed. For example, Owo and Detmer. Yes, let's get a Short Treks episode with them piloting the Enterprise back. That would be great.
I want that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be wonderful. I'm sure they ran into some interesting thing along the way. I'm sure.
Of course. They're in the ISS Enterprise.
Yeah.
That is kind of not in the best shape. So, of course, hijinks will happen.
Absolutely. Okay, so here we go, I guess. First of all, of course, thank you to everybody who's joining us. Thank you to everyone who's watching later. We appreciate you as well. And I hope you enjoy our discussion. And let's get into it. So we start at Starfleet headquarters, and finally, I'm glad he's not just like only in just the last episode. We get a little bit of Saru in this episode. He's here. We see Saru, and that makes me overjoyed.
Same. I was so happy to see him. So happy, because he's left a hole.
He has.
There's been a big Saru-shaped hole through most of this season.
Absolutely. And so yeah, he's been on this diplomatic mission along the Breen border. Apparently that's why he was absent for the one episode we did go back to Starfleet headquarters, and he wasn't even there. But the one thing I noticed from this scene, and I brought this up in my review as well, did Tarina replace her aide? Was that guy fired? Is he canned?
I feel like she's got a new aide for sure. Yep. He went behind her back, and she's like,
Yeah. And being a Vulcan matter, there was nothing emotional about it. It was just logical that his time in her service had come to an end.
It could also be that that guy was just her valet. I mean, I
Could
don't
be, yeah.
know, but yeah, I find it interesting we didn't see that guy ever again. No.
Yeah. Um, I also just this bit of subtle I know he's just a background actor, they call them now. It used to be called extras, now they're background actors. I just love him taking the flowers from her, and I don't like, it's maybe slight bit of a Vulcan annoyance on his face, but very subtle, very nice. It was good.
Mhm. He was a good Vulcan. I appreciated his, few seconds on screen.
Absolutely. Um, and there's a little throwaway line in this section too that explains a little bit from the season, because some people were saying, like, the Discovery has this huge advantage of the spore drive and all this stuff, and the Breen shouldn't be this close on their tail all the time. But there is a line here where they mention that the transwarp tunnels that the Breen are using. So they're not just flying around at warp. And I thought that was an interesting little, oh, by the way, thing
Mm.
there.
I appreciated that because that was kind of nagging at me a little bit too, not to the point where it was hindering my enjoyment, but there was just kind of a, "Hmm, how do they get everywhere so fast?" And now we know.
Hmm. Yeah. So good on them for covering their butts there. I like that. Um, so meanwhile, on Discovery, they've made repairs. They have to get to this final set of coordinates, which of course the Breen have now because they have the map and all of that stuff. Spore Drive's not quite at 100%. But they're going to have to jump right away. Um, One thing from this scene, and it sounds like I just have a bunch of little complaints about this episode, and I really don't. It's just things I noticed, is Book is helping them fix things and, up to his elbows in the spore drive components. And I'm like, don't they have a crew? Like, what are all the little people doing on Discovery? We need to see more of those background people doing things, not just having Book fix the spore drive.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, because there was a lot more damage than just the spore drive. I mean, when
Mhm,
Discovery jumped back into normal space, it was literally smoking. There
mhm,
were fires, except you can't really have a fire in space because it's a vacuum, but okay, it's for
mhm,
visual effect to show how damaged the ship is. I'll allow it this time, but do it again, and we're gonna anyway. So, yeah, I all I can think is that there were literally all hands on deck, like, everybody was pitching in across the ship because
mhm.
Discovery got hurt
Oh yeah,
bad.
absolutely. Yeah,
So
definitely,
so of
for sure.
course, Book is bored, and so of course he's not gonna sit around in sick bay when everyone is working to get things done. That's not his
Mhm.
style.
Oh, Book, you're supposed to just be convalescing. Come on, man.
No, he can't do that, and no one is going to try to make him do it because they really need everybody right now.
Yeah. So they jump to as close to the as close as they can get to the coordinates, and they're kind of caught in the gravitational well of a singularity, and they realize that it's a binary singularity. It's a binary system made up of two black holes, and the progenitor tech is sitting at the Lagrange point between the two black holes, and I see the DNA of Dr. Aaron McDonald all over this episode, and it's lovely to see. Because that was one of the things when they released all the episode titles at the beginning of the season, or they leaked or whatever. I saw that, Lagrange point, and I'm like, I know what that is. That's very nicely done here. A really cool scientific concept that uh, we use to this day. Actually, we have satellites sitting at Lagrange points between the Earth and the Moon, like L1, L2, L3. That's what they're known as. I think the James Webb Space Telescope sits at a Lagrange point. I think basically any two bodies you can have Lagrange points, and I think that one is between the sun and the Earth, but I could be wrong on that one. I'm not sure, but it's really cool. It's the math of them is beyond me, but it's very cool.
Well, math doesn't lie. We know that. So
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, and, again, I really like this episode, like, this is one of my favorite episodes of the season, but I'm not the only one to pick up on this, several other people did as well in the comments of the video I made, but they get there, they see the progenitor tech, and they start talking about it, and then the Breen show up and steal it. I'm like,
Mhm.
"Guys, just take it." Like, don't too much talking, not enough action. Get that in a
Yeah,
tractor beam, get it aboard the ship, spore jump away. But no, the Breen come, and the Breen are on top of things, they know what they're doing, they grab it, and that's it.
yeah, and that's the thing, it's like, what? Guys, I know you're trying to figure out what to do, but, you know the Breen are imminent, right? You know that,
Mhm,
right? Yeah? Yeah? So, why are you talking? Stop talking. Stop talking!
mhm.
Action! Speak louder than words.
Yeah, that was and there's actually another point later in the episode that I'll bring up, but that one in particular, I'm like, a little bit more action. I feel like, Raynor was, like, rolling his eyes off the side going like,
Mhm.
"See?"
Yeah, too late, too late.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and thank you, yeah, it was Ricky that was mentioning that in the comments, that Raynor was probably pulling out his hair off to the side.
Mhm. Oh, he wouldn't have done it physically. He would have just been, clenching his jaw and just that look that he gets on his face when someone's
Mhm.
pissing him off.
Yeah,
We know the look.
which we'll talk about later in this episode too.
Oh, yes. Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
So yeah, the Breen have it now, and the episode turns into a heist, basically. They have to get aboard the ship and get the tech. So we're gonna get Burnham's 11 or Burnham's 4, really, but close enough.
Yeah. Well, if you count the people that are working on Discovery to help things out as well, you could
That's
just
true.
that to maybe 8 or 9 at least.
Yeah. Yeah, the
I
guy
think I
in the
could get
chair, the guys in the chairs.
yeah, people in chairs, people on the bridge, stuff like that.
Mhm.
We
Yep,
could we could
absolutely.
get to 11.
We also find out what the book simulacra told Burnham, which was, build the shape of the one between the many. So, presumably that's going to come into, some sort of relevance in the final episode, so
I still believe that that's how you unlock the tech. I think I said it last time that
Mhm,
I think that has something to do with how you unlock the tech. Um, but then again, who knows? Because, what I still, I think that I've said this early on and from the beginning, no one should have this tech. No one
mhm,
should have this tech. Uh, we the this even 1,000 years later or whatever, 930 years later, etcetera, w we're still not good enough. We're still not good enough
mhm.
to be trusted with that.
Yeah, I kind of agree, and, like, I was recently rewatching Janal, and that moment where he asks them, like, "Is this a time of peace? Is this" and Book says it is a time of peace, and Burnham's a little bit more skeptical and stuff, and I think that moment was yeah, if I had ultimate control, it'd make for a really boring season of Star Trek, but I would say, like, maybe ixnay on anybody getting this, and somehow stop Locke and Maul at that point, but then also not pursue it ourselves
Mhm.
for now. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I look at it the same way that I look at the creation of nuclear weapons. It's like no one should have this power. But because
mhm,
one country had the power, then other countries had to have the power too to balance things out. Or how about we just have none? How about we just have none of those things?
mhm.
Why? Why do you want it's just
The
you know,
age-old putting the genie back in the bottle conundrum, right?
yeah, it's just I feel like they don't I I feel like no one should have it, and I feel like
Mhm.
they should destroy it. That's my take. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, I guess the Breen are the closest to having it right now, so we gotta chase after it now. So, this plan to infiltrate the ship with the 2 teams, one on the bridge to take down the shields, one in the shuttle bay, uh, and then to get there, though, piloting this shuttlecraft into the exhaust port, and um, I thought all of this was really cool. I also really liked that Adira is going on this mission, and Stamets initially is, like, very, like, about it, but when it becomes clear that Adira is going on the mission with the support of Burnham and Tilly and all the rest, he backs down and allows them to make their own decision, and, you know, he's, appreciative that Reese is going to be there as security backup, but he stands back and just kind of proud papa moment rather than freaking out, which, I appreciated.
Yeah, he was nervous, and
Mhm.
he didn't make any secret of that, but
No.
that didn't stop him from trying to stop Adira, and that was the smart thing to do, because
Mhm.
Adira is old enough at this point to make that kind of decision for themselves. So, yeah, I was actually really proud of Stamets. He's come such a long way.
Yeah,
And honestly,
absolutely.
having kids has been really good for him.
Yeah, it definitely has. I liked, a few episodes ago, Face the Strange was all about Burnham's, progression and how she's changed as a character, but I liked the little hint we got of Stamets there too, where he talks about how before he had the tardigrade DNA, he was a lot more surly and stuff, and that's why that worked so well to get rid of people in the engine room. I liked that, just a little bit of commentary on, "Look how far he's come as well." I like that.
He really has. I appreciate that.
Mhm. So yeah, okay, so this they're piloting the shuttle into the exhaust port, and, I made mention of this in my video as well. This is the really pedantic nerd part of me coming out here,
Is it right
where
below the main port?
I thought of that too.
Is it,
Now the
shielded?
exhaust port is ray shielded, so you have to use proton
Photon
torpedoes.
torpedoes.
Yeah. I thought of all of that, as well, for sure.
Same, same. I did all of that when the
Yeah.
first time I watched that with Dave, I'm like, "Oh, they just made a Star Wars reference up in there."
But where the pedantic nerd stuff comes in, and I will never not point this out in Star Trek, because sometimes they get it right and sometimes they don't. Uh, when Adira is saying that the temperature outside is 3,000 degrees Kelvin, Kelvin is not in degrees, it's 3,000 kelvins.
Killed in.
I'm reading my notes here, and all I have in my notes is 3,000 degrees Kelvin. Damn it, Adira.
Where was Dr. Aaron McDonald then?
So it's a nerdy thing, but, like, sometimes they get it right. Star Trek has said kelvins, but it has also said degrees Kelvin many, many times. And
Mhm.
no, kelvins are not measured in degrees.
No.
Mm,
It's its own unit.
absolutely. All right, that's my nerd hat off.
And
Well,
you're
no, it's not. We're
absolutely
still talking about Star Trek, whatever.
yeah, yeah, the nerd hat is just gonna stay on. It's kinda like,
Mhm.
just glued there now, really, when we're talking about Trek,
Yeah,
so it's all good.
it's true. It's true. But yeah, they successfully get in the ship, even though the I liked the back and forth where, science reasons, don't want to explain, but this is why this has to be done this way and stuff. And where they're going to beam in, there's these two life signs. They're waiting for them to leave, but they're just out of time, so they have to go. That was all nicely tense. I thought that was really well done.
Mhm.
And then Burnham's kind of having to be on the balls of her feet there with the uh, translator stuff, and the translator's not keeping up, but she picks out the one word and bluffs their way out of that. I thought that was well done. Anthropology coming in again, or
Xenoanthropology to the
xenoanthropology.
rescue.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So yeah, they split into their two teams. Adira and Reese are going to the bridge. Burnham and Book are going to the shuttle bay. But this is another little just quibble, and I feels like I have a million of them, but I really like this episode, I swear. When they're going to the shuttle bay and they even hang a lantern on it where Burnham wants to have this deep conversation with Book, and she says, now's not an ideal time, but and I'm like, yeah, no kidding. Like, come on. So they're yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
I
they
know
don't
it's
know.
a Trek trope. I know it's a Trek trope, but
They also didn't know if they were gonna get out of there alive. So,
true.
I chalk it up to that.
Yeah. It still
Burnham
bugs
didn't
me a
wanna
bit
wait.
though.
Yeah, I get it, because, well, when she things were just happening so quickly, when was she gonna get another chance?
Yeah.
So, but, yeah, I get where you're coming from, for sure.
Yeah. But and I do recognize that they hung a lantern on it too. But
And that's appreciated,
it's
honestly.
appreciated. It doesn't make it all okay, but I appreciate it. They're at least self-aware in this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay. I have a question. Why in every science fiction anything ever does hitting someone in the helmet knock them out? What are these helmets for?
I don't know, especially when you're gelatinous. I mean, well,
That
maybe it's
was my
because you're
next point.
gelatinous. Maybe if you're gelatinous and you get hit with something hard in a way that you didn't expect, even with the helmet on, hmm, maybe it can cause problems that we don't understand, not being a gelatinous species.
Maybe. But yeah,
I
that
don't know, but
that
yeah,
was
it's
my
just
second question was also given their nature. How does that work?
yeah, because the thing is too, and this is the thing that really annoys me, is like you knock someone out and they're down, oh, they're still down. No, if they don't wake up within about a minute, they have brain damage, and that
Mhm.
is bad. But you never see that in movies and television because they're like, no, I'm gonna clock this guy really good and he's gonna be down for the count. Oh no, you probably killed him. Actually, is what's happening. Is that he's dying slowly of that hit because he's got, now bleeding on the brain or something like that. That's how that really works.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it annoys me with the whole knock somebody out in the head. It's just like,
Mhm. And this is a good point. Football players get knocked out even with a helmet on, but not via glass jaw usually.
no.
Like, I don't know, if someone's wearing a football helmet and you hit them in the jaw there, I feel like that's not gonna put them out. But
Yeah.
maybe the jelly bean biology has something to do with that, I guess.
Yeah, we'll write it off to that, I guess, I don't know, but it's
Yeah.
just yeah, physical fights like that, they always pull that stuff, and it
Mhm.
always annoys me because it's just so overused and it's incorrect.
Yeah. Yeah, I never quite understand that, but, uh, anyway, um, so we've got Maul and the Breen trying to figure out this, tech. They have the map. All of the previous clues all together makes a key which opens the outer shell, which was put there by the scientists. So that's not progenitor stuff. That's the thing that was used to encase it, that the Federation scientists or the Federation affiliated scientists all came together to do there. But in the meantime, they send this Breen, I guess, scientist in, or low ranking soldier, maybe, I guess, into it. And he just gets pulled in and disappears, which is a little distressing because they can't detect any life signs anymore. They're not sure what's going on the other side of this portal. So I liked their next move was to tether the next guy to the floor and send them in. Um, and it really reminded me, I put this in my video as well. It really reminded me of when in Stargate SG-1,
Yes!
yeah, they find the old footage of them activating the gate in the 40s, and they send an explorer through in like a diving suit with a lifeline attached. And of course, as soon as he steps through, the gate closes, and the thing's terminated there. Like, it's yeah. I I was like, "Oh my goodness, I've seen this before. This doesn't go well."
Yeah, yeah, I was thinking when you actually get to see the size of this in comparison with humanoids, you realize there's no way in hell that the progenitor's tech is actually in there, and that it
Mhm.
obviously has to be some sort of conduit to where the progenitor's tech actually is. Basically, it's like a tiny Stargate.
Yeah. Yeah, they call it an extra dimensional gateway, so
Yeah,
pretty
that works
much,
too.
yeah. Um, but yeah, so there's 2 Breen soldiers in there already, I guess. They need to have, like, a little thing on the outside of the progenitor's tech that just has a tally of, like, who's all in there right now. So,
Mhm.
as of right now, 2 Breen soldiers,
Yep.
one of whom
That
with
we
a
know of.
lifeline dangling from him, I
Yeah.
guess.
I would assume they're the only, humanoid life forms currently in there because well, that we don't know. We don't know what's in there. We don't know what's in
Exactly,
there.
yeah.
So, are there a bunch of people just hanging out with the progenitor's tech? Is it completely devoid of anybody? I don't know.
See, now, when when I watched Janal again, they mentioned that there's originally 6 scientists, one of whom died, so the remaining 5 scientists have safeguarded the tech. Now, I'm assuming they say that he died when he activated the progenitor's tech, or when they
Mm,
activated it. So I'm assuming this person didn't just get sucked into this and they went, "Oh crap, he's dead," and sealed it off. Like there's something more to that whole what happened back then than that. That said, that person could be in there maybe somehow or something. That would be interesting.
mm, yeah.
Maybe it's a place
Well,
outside of time and they haven't aged or something. I don't know. So
it's hard to say, but the person like, if they activated it wrong, maybe
mhm.
that's how that person died?
That's my guess, so I'm thinking this is probably not the case,
Yeah.
but
Because the clue that Avatar book gave Michael about how she would need that, build the shape of the one within the many or whatever it was. I thought, "Yeah, that's significant. That's how you activate the thing." I don't know how that works, but that's how you activate the thing. But what if you don't have that information and you just start
mhm,
messing with it and think you can just flip a switch and turn it on?
yeah,
Chances are there are safeguards to keep people like that from being able to use the tech, and I'm guessing that's how that scientist may have died.
yeah, so the remaining 5 scientists came up with that clue after the fact, maybe
Yeah,
after they saw what happened or something. Hmm, so
that's
did
my
they
guess.
then figure out how to activate it without dying? Interesting.
They would have had to, otherwise
Yeah,
they wouldn't have that clue.
exactly, yeah, interesting.
But it worries me how much trial and error went into that, and I guess they're lucky that not all of them died.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, so Burnham and Book, trying to make their way in there and distract the guy and all this stuff. That flirting that Book was, doing with the other Breen, well done. That was really funny.
You sure you don't wanna go to that oil bath?
"You wish to be one of my Sark mates?" With his ass. And, "Sure, why not?" It's like, "Very well. I shall prepare a space for you in the oil bath." "Hurry up, Michael, this is getting weird."
He started it.
Yep. Yep.
Mm.
No, that was great. I thought that was really funny. A nice little bit of levity in a pretty serious episode, so that was
Yeah,
good.
there are nice breaks of tension throughout the episode because a lot of it is just like me clenching my fists,
Mhm.
worried about how because I hate the whole have to infiltrate the enemy thing. It's like they're gonna get found out. It's just how it's going to happen. Does everybody live, please? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
I all bets are off. I don't know.
DJ Kitty Cat has a good point. It's very lower decks. Like, that's a very lower deckian type, scenario. And also, yeah, I could see Boymes doing that. I could
He
see that.
absolutely would. Mhm.
And Mariner making the snarky comments off to the side while she's, doing the tech part of it or something. I could totally see that.
Yeah, and he'd be just as awkward as Book
Oh, yes.
because I know Boymes, and he would just be so awkward about it.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. So meanwhile, on the bridge, we've got Reese and Adira, and they have to commandeer a console in order to get the shields down. I also loved the like picking on the lowest ranking Breen guy and just kind of bullying him off the station. And
Mhm.
Adira, everyone always picks on the ensigns. It was
Yes,
great.
well, they know what it's like to be the low person on the totem pole, so
Mhm.
which that's actually stupid because the strongest person is at the bottom of the totem pole. And so
Mm.
saying that that's the low person on the totem pole, that's actually the place of honor because that is the base. That is the thing that allows the totem pole to be constructed and all of the mythology that goes around that. It's just like, so we shouldn't really say it that way. It's the
Mhm.
high man on the totem pole. A high person on the totem pole is the worst place to be. So,
Hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I appreciated that. It felt like yeah, we need to focus on the Breen lower deckers. They're having a bad time of it. They're
they
getting
really are.
sucked into extra dimensional portals. They're being forced away from their consoles. What did that poor guy do after? He's just like standing at the back of the bridge twiddling his thumbs.
Mhm. Just awkwardly like, ah, I hope nobody notices I'm not doing anything right now. Maybe if I just stand over here, no one will see me. I mean, it's
Mhm.
gotta be totally awkward because all they do is just say, "This unit needs maintenance. Get out of the way," basically.
Yeah.
But what's he supposed to do?
And Indira's bellowing of "That's an order" was great too.
Mhm.
I felt like they really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, stature doesn't make a difference, like, how tall you are doesn't
Mhm.
mean have any importance, it seems, to the Breen as far as how high of a rank you might have, so, the smaller like, the most furious of the people are the 2, smaller people, which are Adira and Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the meantime, the discovery is made that the 2 guards are missing from the shuttle bay and everything kind of goes into lockdown. I loved this moment. Raynor is a stone cold badass. I love him.
Mhm.
Where, Maul is gonna head down to the shuttle bay and they realize we need a distraction right away. And, cloaked discovery, not discovered yet. Raynor's like, hail the dreadnought. And they're like, oh, holy crap. Okay. I love that. That was so good.
Oh, yeah. Raynor is great. I do appreciate, uh, the look on Maul's face. It's a micro
Mhm.
expression at best, but she seems relieved that Discovery wasn't destroyed, and she also seems sort of, I wouldn't say sad, but regretful when he says that Michael is dead.
Mhm.
So I just there's a real person in there somewhere under all of that pain and anger.
Yeah. She's also prudent though too. So
Oh,
we
yes.
we get that moment, but then she starts barking orders like, you know, be prepared for whatever because discovery's here kind of thing. But yeah, I did appreciate that little bit of that hint of that come across her face was really appreciated um for sure. So
Yeah, and kudos to Eve Harlow for that.
yeah, she's killing it this season.
She really is.
Definitely. So yeah, that kind of delays her going down to the shuttle bay for a little bit, and they back on in the shuttle bay, they have to take the field down and attach the lock. But by the time they get there, she has now gone down to the shuttle bay, and they catch them in the act, of course. And yeah, that's The jig is up, I guess.
Too easy, too
Mhm.
easy. Great plan. Um, Unfortunately, she's also dealing with, very smart people, and
Yeah.
despite we what anyone may believe, Maul is very intelligent. She's not an idiot,
Mhm.
and she's also very, experienced, and she knows that people a lot of people are just out to get their own, you know? And so
Mhm.
I understand why she doesn't trust easily, I totally get that. So that's made her more what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't know, Machiavellian in her schemes and the
Mhm.
way she looks at things. So she doesn't get surprised easily, I guess is a good way to put it. And she's
Yeah.
always thinking about her next move, a way out, even when tables are turned.
Yeah. Um, let's talk for a minute about Maul, just because there's a discussion happening in the comments that I want to address. So Maul is a human. They established her as a human earlier. And then so the question was asked, how Book knows her dad. So her dad was Cleveland Booker the fourth, which I'm assuming makes our Cleveland Booker the fifth, because he
Mm,
mentions it's a name that's been handed down through various couriers. So her father, Cleveland Booker the fourth, was a human, and was Book's mentor. And so that's how Book knows of Maul. He'd never met her in person, but was very close to her father. So, um, yeah, that's how that all works. Because there was some question, that she was a Kwijon, and no, she's human. So she's not directly related to Book, just related to the daughter. She's the daughter of his mentor. So
yeah,
yeah,
and the whole thing with Cleveland Booker is that's not a Quajon thing.
no, no,
So that's, and I mean, just because Cleveland Booker the 5th is Quajon, that doesn't mean that all of them were from Quajon.
yeah. And
So
presumably the original one was also human with the name Cleveland
Cleveland
Booker,
Booker?
I would
Yeah, yeah,
assume.
yeah. Yeah, it's
So
very, very human name.
yeah. Oh, like the Dread Pirate Roberts, exactly.
Yes,
There you go.
very
Perfect.
good, very good.
Good analogy. I like that. Um, okay, so that's all going on. Let's shift gears and talk specifically about Raynor in this episode then, because
Yes, please.
there's so much good
So
uh
much
going
good.
on with him. I
Yes.
love that, like, the officers around the bridge have noticed he never sits in the captain's chair, and Tilly tries to give him some encouragement and stuff. And I love the conversation they have, um, where she's kind of prodding him about it a bit, and she, says, Captain Burnham trusts you to lead us. We all do. It's a bit of a road to get there. Ooh, a little bit of a Enterprise reference there, maybe again. But
Again.
really, we really do. And then he says, you know why I asked you to serve as my number one today, Lieutenant? And I love Tilly's like, no, sir, actually, I don't. And she kind of like, but his answer, it's because you're smart as hell, you're a good leader, and if we were stuck in a foxhole together, I wouldn't kill you. That is, unless you gave me more of that warm and fuzzy encouragement that I don't need.
I love the way he says it too, that warm and fuzzy encouragement.
That I don't need.
It's like he's baring his teeth while trying to smile.
Totally.
It's just so great.
That was
Encouragement.
wonderful. He's so
Uh,
good.
mhm.
Um, and then, of course, he earns it at the end, but we'll get there. So during this whole thing where Burnham is, stopped by Maul, she manages to kind of send a bit of a coded message to Raynor to realize what he has to do, which Tilly didn't pick up on at all. which led to your nickname there, her line there that I loved, where Raynor's kind of outlining what it is they're about to do. And Tilly just can't quite believe it for a second.
Yeah, "Oh, holy schnoodle."
That was
Like,
adorable.
Tilly's never been afraid to swear before.
No. Well, she saw Raynor's bared teeth a few minutes ago, so
That's
maybe in that
true.
moment she was a little afraid to swear.
He was smiling at him, though, at the end of that, but yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's, and I think too that she was using specifically Kelleran references, so
Mm.
it would make sense to him,
Yeah,
and 'cause
absolutely.
I don't think anyone else on the bridge got it either. I
Nope,
think it
I
was
don't think
all just straight for Raynor.
yep. So yeah, the plan basically is to ram the shuttle bay with the ship to bring down the containment field and eject everything into space. Then they can grab the progenitor tech as well as Burnham and Book. And yeah, oh holy schnoodle is
Mm.
right. Visually, just
Wow.
stunning. This whole sequence was so well done.
Mm,
Uh, and I mean, even there was that throwaway line in season 3 that Discovery now has detached nacelles to improve maneuverability. I'm like, "Oh, okay. Now I get it."
mhm.
Because, yeah, they, like, fold up and tuck in and make Discovery's, profile smaller, and I thought that was brilliant. That was really cool. I wasn't expecting that.
So much coolness. Basically, my jaw dropped the first time I saw this sequence. I'm just like, "Oh!" It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in Star Trek.
And Patrick brings up a good point. Maybe they should start introducing doors again. But, yeah, that whole sequence was amazing. So, the different perspectives on it too, and you see them in the shuttle bay, like, from inside the shuttle bay, and they're firing on it. I wanna see what that looked like on the AR wall, like, how finished were those effects for the people in the that would have been cool to see. But then the perspective back from Discovery of, like, bearing down on the shuttle bay and stuff, so good.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can we talk about the chair?
Let's talk about the chair because, yeah, that's what we're coming to here. Um, After this whole maneuver, he earns that chair. He
Mhm.
gets in that chair.
Yep, he does a little Picard tug on his
Mhm,
tunic.
a little bit,
Yep,
and then the
yep. "Let's
nice
do
touch.
this." I loved it.
Yeah, that was so good. I, for the first time this season, actually did watch the Unready Room. So, I think they was it in the Unready Room they talked a little bit about him coming up with his
Mhm.
signature move of sitting in the chair like everybody kind of has theirs,
Yep.
and, him and Jonathan Frakes, who directed this episode, of course, kind of came up with that, like, smack the arm thing, which was reminiscent of something he did earlier too, where he also smacked the chair. He didn't sit in it at the time, but a few episodes ago when the bridge crew came up with the idea of how to get, uh, the ISS Enterprise out of the anomaly or whatever, he did the smack on the chair too, so
Yeah, and he had his own catchphrase, "Let's do this." So,
yep.
short, to the point, you know what you're in for.
Yeah, and he also, had a good version of "Failure is not an option," which
Mhm,
is a classic. That was good. Um, Reminded me of watching Apollo 13, actually, so that
mhm.
anytime that I'm reminded of that movie, it's a good thing, so, yeah.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so they managed to beam Book aboard, but in the meantime, Maul has gone into the progenitor tech and Burnham has followed her, so they're unreachable. But the container with the progenitor tech in it starts to come apart, and I guess it's just free floating out there now. And Burnham and Maul and at least two Breen soldiers are in there as well. So
Yeah. Little Stargate just sitting out there.
yeah,
I'm sorry, I know I'm mixing my science fiction
Oh,
series.
that's okay. We've been doing that all episode for sure.
I know, but yeah, I love me some Stargate, so
Absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of where things are left for next week. We haven't talked much about Saru other than the very beginning, but uh, we've got this other thing happening, which is another Breen Primarch, Tahal, is taking her forces to this site here to basically capture the former Rune, his soldiers and stuff, and absorb them into her forces. And Starfleet has to kind of stop her or waylay her as much as they can. She's ignoring their hails. They talk about maybe sending the USS Mitchell because it has the pathway drive, but that would be too provocative. Instead, they're just going to send a shuttlecraft with the pathway drive with one person, and that is going to be Saru. So that gets set up in this episode, but I'm guessing the payoff is all in the finale. So
yeah.
they've set it up to have a lot in that episode for sure.
Well, and Saru is the one that says, "Oh, there is a shuttle that has a pathway drive, it was a test."
Mhm.
So, he's the one who says, "No, we can't send a ship, we have to do something smaller, something
Yeah.
less, uh, in that won't incite, immediate attack."
Mhm.
So, and, I love his conversation with Tarina. You can tell she's upset that he's the one that's going, but she also knows logically that he's the one that should be going,
Mhm.
and, the conversation they have is just I just can we just have a Saru and Tarina episode? Actually, a series? Just following Tarina and Saru.
Yeah.
I would watch that.
I also loved the conversation right at the end. It's just so in keeping with both of their characters.
Indeed.
Um, where Saru says, "We have both chosen lives of service. To balance that with our love for one another will never be easy, but at least we can face that struggle together." And Tarina says, "It would be illogical to ask that you promise to return. So instead, I will only ask that you will try." And then Saru, "I shall see you when I return." Emphasis on when. I love that. That was really good.
Yes. Yes, they really understand each other,
Mhm.
and they're just
Yeah,
so
it was
cute
really sweet
together. Yeah.
for sure. Um, yeah. So I don't know. I don't think I'm worried for Saru, but I'm a little worried for Saru.
You know what? I'm not worried for Saru. There's no way in hell they're gonna kill Saru off
No,
because people would
no.
riot,
Oh,
and
right? That would be the worst.
yeah. So,
Ah,
I feel like Saru has plot immunity. I really
mhm.
do.
I think so at this point. I hope for sure.
'Cause no, don't kill off Doug Jones' characters. Come on. Come
No.
on. Give me this. Give me this. I'm just going with it. Plot
Yeah.
immunity.
Well, yeah, so like I said, that's kind of where we're left for next week, which is the series finale, which I just can't believe how fast this season has gone. I'm I so eagerly want to watch it, but I also just don't want it to be over, you know? It's like it's like I don't know, I can't think of an appropriate analogy. It's like saving the last little bit of candy or something, and you're like, "Well,
Mm,
I still have a little bit left. I can still have a little bit more enjoyment in the future." But once you have it, it's gone, and then I don't
yep.
know. Well, I guess, from there, I'll ask, do you have any final thoughts, anything we haven't covered? And, of course, a rating for Lagrange point.
I can't think of anything we haven't covered, really. This was a white knuckle episode for me.
Yeah.
Because, you honestly just don't know what's going to happen. You can guess, but until we actually see that thing floating in between those 2 black holes, and until we see it in perspective. Obviously the tech's not in there. Well, what? So much unknown that I just whew, it was tense, and I'm sure that the finale is going to have more of that, where I'm just gonna be, like, white knuckling most of the episode. Um, I I really enjoyed this, there's so many great moments. Love seeing Raynor sit in the chair. Love seeing Discovery just blasting into the shuttle bay like, "Hi, bye."
That was
Just
really well done.
it was just, it was beautiful. It was an amazing thing to see. Just next level special effects there. So, also, I would like to say kudos to all the stunt people who got beaten up by, the 4-person team that came onto the Breen ship. Good on ya all, because, they just never get the credit that they deserve, and I I'm one of those people that thinks that stunt people should have Academy Awards and
Oh,
Emmys
yeah.
and all of
Absolutely.
those things. So, kudos to them. So I'm going to give it one giant, brain stunt person. It was a hell of a ride.
Yeah. No, that's a good rating, and absolutely, top-notch performance by stunt people and actors and director and, all the
Mhm,
people on this episode. I felt like I had a bunch of little tiny quibbles with it, but, like, really, I really loved this episode. Um, and then one thing that, I didn't mention here, but I did kind of mention in my video because of the nature of the video that I do, which is to pick out all the little Easter eggs and references and stuff. There were very few in this episode. This one was very much in the story, in Discovery lore. Like, besides the stuff that had already been covered in previous episodes, like the Breen themselves, I guess there's the fact that the container was made of duranium. I guess that's, kind of a reference. Or the USS Mitchell, which has been covered before. There's really like no little things in here that you can pick out and say, like, oh, this was a reference to a previous episode, unless I missed a bunch. And I'm sure I'll hear from people if I did. But I really liked the fact that this was very much reliant on its own storytelling and not, you know, leaning on all this other stuff to kind of, I don't know, you know, it's very much of its own story. So, uh, yeah, I'm going to have to give this episode 2 firm smacks on the arm of the captain's chair because I really loved this episode. I thought it was just really, really well done. So, it was setting up the finale beautifully, and
mm.
I'm really glad, Jonathan Frakes got one more, bit of directing in on, Discovery before the end. I guess unless Jonathan Frakes somehow shows up in the episode next week, this marks the first, television series since Enterprise, I guess, that he doesn't show up in ever at all. Um, so yeah, he's been in Lower Decks, he's been in Picard, those are both ending. He could show up in Strange New Worlds maybe. But so far, of all the ones that are ending, this is the only one he's never been in. Which is
Yeah,
kind of sad.
it
I was
is.
hoping maybe there'd be an accidental reflection in a panel this week or something, but nothing.
Yeah. I'm actually he's coming to FanX this year. He was supposed to come last year and he didn't, and he's coming this year. And by God, I'm gonna meet that man.
Mhm.
So I gotta collect all of the action figures from Next Generation. And so I will have him and I'll have LeVar Burton and
Nice.
there's another person. Why am I forgetting? Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts. Basically, by the time that I have met all of the people, the only person that I won't have is Marina Sirtis
Mm, yeah.
from the original cast.
Oh, very
So,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, oh man, I can't believe there's just one more after this. Oh my god. Okay. I
I'm
just
not
need to
ready. Not
me
ready.
neither.
Never gonna be ready. Never.
Yeah. I'm gonna miss this cast. It's so
Me too.
wonderful. So terrific. But yeah, that's it for this week's Unready Room. Thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate everybody in the comments, lending your thoughts. Hit the like button on this if you liked it. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, we've got one more live show coming up for Discovery next week. And then after that, it'll probably be Lower Decks. Again, the final season later this year. Damn you, Paramount. Um, but yeah, that's what's going on. Ah, anyway, um, it's going to be a celebration next week. We're not going to be sad. We'll be sad,
No,
but it's
I'll be
not
s
going to be just sad. We're going to celebrate uh, Discovery and the final episode and stuff. So it's going to be fun, and we'll see you all there. So
yeah.
that's it for me. Brandi, any parting words for folks out there?
Expect me to cry next week, guys. You know it's gonna happen. Just buckle in.
Yeah, there will be tears
Mhm.
for sure. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Live long and prosper, and live logs and I can't do that left hand. Live logs and proper and all that good stuff.
And
Bye,
Vulcan's
everybody.
sarcastic salute.
Yeah. Go watch Lower Decks.